Hi folks, so here we are with our weekly update again. Probably the main focus of it today will be the Donegal County Council steering committee meeting. That was the first one in quite some time now that happened this week, and I got an opportunity at that to explain where I believe the scheme was at. It was actually a better meeting than any of them that would have had previously, probably mainly because the meeting was allowed to start and finish without constant interruptions. So I still believe it has a way to go, but it was certainly the best thing that I've been at anyway. I didn't even bother going to the last one because it was a complete waste of time. But I did go to this one and I'll be going to the next ones again. I think we do need to make it more business-like and get into the actions, the names, and the dates. That's the way we would normally conduct business meetings, and I think that's just the way we'd like to see that going forward. But regards the update that I gave, I talked about the enhanced scheme of the 30th of November, and that things haven't really changed for us at all. With three pillars before then, with three pillars after then, and they haven't gone away at all. So the pillar one was about 100% redress, and that was basically down to affordability and having our costs covered. Now, they scuppered it on the 30th of November with the announcement of the sliding scale. That's now effectively gone, and I believe that will be the case. In terms of what is true cost, that's where SCSI come in, and we had a meeting with them on Thursday of this week. Constructive and professional is how I describe it. There was four on the panel from our side, representing Donegal, Mayo, and a QS on there as well, and walked through an example house in detail with all the associated costs, and they did take the time to listen to all of that. So I do think that was enlightening for them, and this is them at their information gathering phase now. So that's good. And what I do know is that they're being informed by QSs throughout the Northwest. Northwest being, from memory here, Roscommon, Mayo, Sligo, and Donegal was the four counties if I remember right. So these are QSs on the ground that are feeding into SCSI with what true costs are. So that's good news for us, and that's where we want it to be, as opposed to a desktop exercise by a housing department in Dublin. So we'll see how all that goes. But the meeting went well. We just await their outcome, which I believe they need to give to the minister first, which I think is due on the 28th of February. And then it's down to it getting rolled out to us. But the copyright resides with SCSI. So we will be, and everybody will see what SCSI proposed. And if there's anything different to that, then we can do the read across that we always talked about. And in fairness, the minister did promise that from his letter of the 23rd of June. So that was that. So that 100% redress is pillar number one, and that's where SCSI are coming in. But there are things in there. If there's going to be caps, the caps have to move as well, and that's not within the scope of the SCSI. That's again for government and the department to make them calls, so we'll be pushing hard on that. And we also know the things like a 2007 regs, which is very, very disappointing, a backward step. 15-year-old regs, that's what they've been asked to price to. So that's disappointing, but that is not something that's within the scope of SCSI to go change that. They were given a scope in which they must work. So that remains, and I know we've got our politicians pushing back on that, as they should be, pushing hard on it, as we are as well as campaigners. So we'll see where that all gets to. And they're talking about SEAI grants and all that good stuff, but there need to be common sense prevailing here too. Why would you build a house till 2007 standards and then retrofit it later on when it can be done right first time? And if they're going to do it right first time, they need to allow for the fact that Mica Pyrite homes are not the same as other homes in the land. We've got a bad starting point. We're going to be out a lot of money anyway. For example, even getting basic carpets in your house is not part of the scheme that they've allowed us here. So there's money to be spent in finishing off a house, and icing on the cake would be those that could have the money left over then to go and do the likes of 2022 regs and all that good stuff, and the best of the latest technology that's out there. So that's all that stuff. Progress, but not where it needs to be yet, and we'll keep pushing on it. Pillar number 2 was the 40-year state-backed guarantee that we asked for. We were talking about this now for 2 years. There is the second grant, as they call it, but as I talked at the Donegal County Council meeting, this can't be a situation like as I described it on the day as a basket of apples with good and bad apples. You reach in and if you pick out a bad apple, you get a second bite at it. These are people's homes. They need to realise that, and they need to treat us with the respect that we deserve on this. That you can't expect a homeowner to have go through this twice in their lifetime. Just not on in any shape or form. And if they don't have the science that backs up saying that outer leaves are sufficient and so on, then they have to play it safe and it has to be demolish and rebuild until there's science that says anything less will do. And that science is not there as far as I would be concerned at this point in time. And if it is there, then they're making a poor job of showing us what that looks like. They're only now talking about starting to fund science, so I don't see how they could know. So anyway, that's our stance on that one. Other parts then was the Pillar 3, and the Pillar 3 is around the no excluded homes. And we're saying the holiday homeowners there, there needs to be a pathway for these people. They cannot be abandoned, and that's how they feel at this point in time. So, we talked before about getting them in there as part of the rental sector, first of all, so that people, displaced families, would have a place to go to, and then that would allow them onto the scheme because they're then seen as rental and not holiday homes. But government weren't prepared to work with that, and they weren't prepared to give us anything else that could answer the question of where do these displaced families go. So you can't say no and then not offer something else. So that's pillar number 3. Pillar number 3 is still there, and there's still some bits of confusion around RTB, and there is, in fairness, a big step forward in that the first buy-to-let is eligible so long as it's RTB approved. They need to expand on that and tell us exactly what it is. It's meant to be a pattern of tenancy they're looking for. RTB is what they've thrown to us. It's not part of the Leinster Pyrite scheme. Holiday homeowners are not excluded as part of the Leinster Pyrite scheme, and all work done in the Leinster Pyrite scheme was done to the latest regs, not 2007 regs. So they have to answer why there is that level of discrimination still being put our direction and the affected counties in the Western Seaboard, and have never answered that. So, and the last part I said, Donegal County Council, you need to be pushing back here, man. There's 36, 37 councillors there. That's a significant body of elected representatives, and I'd like to know what they're doing, thinking outside the box to go and push this plight of ours forward in front of the noses of the government, in front of the noses of their own TDs. What else can they do that they haven't thought of yet that they need to get into? Because it's not good enough to yay and nay along with us during meetings. They have to be proactive and coming up with ideas and coming up with solutions and help us in a meaningful way, and that's what we'd be asking them to do, and that's what I did ask them to do. Okay, so we'll see how all that ends up. And as I said, the meeting needs to be more business orientated, straight into the order of the day regards the outstanding business matters, who's taking on what, and when is it going to be sorted by, and so on. And that's the way any business should be running. Okay, just a couple other things then. Self-build, we had that during the week 3. We covered the insulated concrete formation, ICF work. We covered SIPs, structured insulated panels, and we covered hemp. Okay, so anybody that's on there or hasn't been on there, I would encourage you to do so. You also get free tickets then to an exhibition in Dublin on all self-build stuff. Micah will be there, I'll be there myself, and other people will be there. And you'll get a chance to touch, feel these different technologies and see what might be right for you. So, take the opportunity. The other thing we did then was a letter that we put out to Darragh Breen again in a response to his response on the SCSI part. We still believe there is gaps, further clarification required. It's out there for everybody to see, and you'll make your own comments on that accordingly. And we are also going to be sending on, probably mid of this week coming now, an entire list of all the questions that came from not just us as Mike Action Group and the 100% redress page, but all the homeowners out there. We've collated all that. That's going to be out there, and that needs to have a way of working through it then through the stakeholder meeting probably, which still hasn't been announced despite promises to have done that for the last 2 or 3 weeks. Okay, so we'll keep that pressure on there. And the last thing I want to mention quickly is Claire McDade, who's launching her song, We Don't Want to Hear, what is it again? We Don't Want to Hear 1,000 Reasons. And that's really what we've had up to now. That's going to be launching on Tuesday, and we want to give it a full support. Okay, cheers, bye-bye.